The guest is Minister JBoyce, and of course we're talking about the African American music, the gospel music tradition. But Reverend Boyce and Reverend Minister Boyce, let me see if we can sort of get you back into some of that information that you were giving us earlier in reference to the African American tradition by talking about your participation in this African American music tradition, because we know that a large number of folks would like to know where do they start, or how could they start in terms of becoming involved not only in gospel music, but in music period. And I think that you've got a lot of excellent information that we'd like for you to share with our audience today.
Okay. Well, let me lay a foundation when we talk about African gospel music. It really comes from a time when we were enslaved and were not permitted to speak the English language or to read. So what we had was our own languages, but we could not articulate what we really wanted to say because there were so many mixed languages on those plantations. So we had moans, groans, chants, out of which our tradition began, and a lot of those moans and groans and chants became songs, like Wade in the Water, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. You know, when you start to reflect on those, you're talking about coded language and coded music that reflected the social, economic, political reality in which we were living. Now, when you move into talking about African American music as a genre, you can't talk about it without talking about the root. And it all comes from the same tree. And this is my issue, in that while the spirituals were formulating, you also had the blues formulating. And on the plantations, it was very difficult for one to talk about their reality because it was considered to be the devil's music. And the blues has never been the devil's music, because music, all music, was given to us by God. It has been perpetrated from the pulpit, and persons have been ostracized from the church from just not being able to talk about their reality in America. And so what we find is that on the tree, while you had the spirituals on one side, the blues on the other side, then you had your gospel, and then you had you know, jazz and ragtime and all of those things coming up on the same tree. And one of the stories that I wanted to tell was about Scott Joplin, whose father rejected him because he was playing ragtime music. And it was not until he was invited by whites or Europeans to Carnegie Hall that he was acceptable to his father.
Received some kind of recognition, even
from his father. So we ostracize our own family members because of their participation in it. Now, what makes it, I think, inconsistent with our spirituality is when we distort the sexuality aspects of it, or we distort some aspect of the lyrical content, which is not godly. The best way I can put that is to say that James Cone came up with a book entitled The Spirituals and the Blues, and his argument as a theologian is that I am a spiritual. I mean, I am the blues, but my life is a spiritual. That is to say that we live the blues. Some folk don't want to live the blues. They like to sit around and listen to it and hear it, but they don't want to experience it. And what he's saying is that as an African American, I can't deny that aspect of who I am. I am the blues, but my life is a spiritual, you see. So that brings us to a point to where we can then see the compartmentalized aspects of our lives, social, economic, cultural, political, religious, spiritual, whatever, being brought together theologically to where we can embrace each other and not ostracize each other because of our choice or a genre of music that we may like or sing about. The thing about the gospel and the difference between the two, he argues, is that when we talk about the spirituals reflect our belief in God. Now think about the song Stormy Monday. When the author got to the end of the song, he said, then I cried. After he talked about stormy Monday and Tuesday just as bad, and Wednesday I go to work and all that. He can get through Saturday and then Sunday, and then he cries, Lord, have mercy. Lord, have mercy on me. In other words, you have a person who can relate to their reality, but understands that it is God in whom we call upon to have mercy on us, to help us in our with the reality in which we live. So with that foundation and that understanding of both the spirituals and the blues, and how this tree grew up with jazz, contemporary gospel, each one of those genres of gospel music also suffered at the hands of the church because it was a new style of music. Well, the same thing is happening today with hip-hop. And we have a new generation that talks about and speaks about and sings about the gospel with a hip-hop beat. And for some reason, as an older generation, we perhaps don't quite get it or understand it, and we're not sure how to receive it. So we need a better understanding biblically of how it all came about. The psalmist sang the blues. David sang the blues. He was always talking about his enemies and asking God to help him get out of some kind of scrape with somebody, or to help him and to bless him and to curse his enemies. When we were in captivity, even as a people, the tribe of Judah, which we are, when we were in captivity in Babylon, we talked about how can we sing the songs of Zion. You know, how can we sing those songs? Or rather, how can we sing? You're asking us to sing, buck dance, and jump up and down and play our fiddles and our harps. But how can we do that without reflecting on who we really are as a people? The same thing happened in America. We were asked to be the fiddler, the guitar player, and bug dance and jump at the parties for the master, but we couldn't talk about our reality. And that has permeated the black church, that has permeated the black household, so much so that we need now to understand the foundation for African gospel music, because it really boils down to us responding to the same struggle that Jesus had, and putting that lyrical content to music, and having a theological basis for gospel music, because we relate to that struggle.
Very good. And of course, let's make preparations for the second commercial break, Minister, and then we'll come back and we'll give you an opportunity to expand upon that. Because
Great.
I think that's very, very important information. We'll be back with our audience following this. Minister JBoyce2